And so when people buy leads, when they look at leads, there's a clear misconception as to how the whole thing occurs, right? And you guys can go in and increase your brand. You can increase your rankings. You can show up for more keywords. You can increase the map placement, how high you show up in maps. You can increase photos and pictures and activity with the potential client, reviews and respect from your brand, and then you can pull more and more off of that. So that you can pay for clicks. You can go on and do some social media, depending on how you do it, can work. I like remarketing, retargeting, and pixel tracking.
Definitely.
I think that's fantastic stuff. That basically means that anybody that goes to your website gets hit up again on Google or Facebook, and your ad follows them around. Hey there, guys. It's Nolan and Jason here with Roofing Webmasters.
Howdy.
We're going to talk about today how many leads can I expect to get for a roofer, digital marketing, or whatever. Just how many leads can I expect to get, right?
Which is a valid question and hard to answer at the same time.
It is a valid question. It's hard to answer. Lots of people everyone either asks the question, or they think about it, or frankly should ask the question.
Yeah.
You know? And I have a lot of stuff I want to talk about with it. Because when people ask the question, I'll say, okay, I'm going to answer the question in multiple different ways to give you an overview. Because and a lot of people will try to answer part of the question. They'll ask the question, and then a common response is, well, I know you probably can't give me the answer, but I just wanted to know. I said, no, I can give you a pretty good answer. Because I've worked with hundreds of roofers and we have hundreds of clients, right? So I can answer this question, but it's going to be a little bit different in different situations and scenarios.
The classic SEO answer, it depends.
It depends, but, and so I guess right now we are talking about SEO, but we are going to go off into an idea of strong branding after we get done with the SEO talk.
Right.
Because at this point in time, Roofing Webmasters is strongly branded.
Yeah.
And it shows in our online presence and our response from our online presence.
Well, I mean, we've seen ourselves mentioned on competitors' websites.
We have.
And I think if your competitors are actually openly talking about you on the homepage of their site, you've made it.
Yeah. So yeah, we get talked about in a pretty lofty type conversation, you know, with people. So let's talk about it, and let's talk about what you can expect, and let's go a little deeper on what you can actually really try to garner from having digital marketing for a roofing company. Okay, so the first thing is, when we're talking about this stuff, we're going to talk about organic right now, and I'm going to talk about pay-per-click, and I'm going to talk about Facebook and Instagram, because that's really the social media aspect of it.
Right.
And we're going to talk about leads online, and you paying for other lead sources, and we're going to talk about, branded reputation management and Google's interpretation of your branded signaling,
which is very pertinent point.
It's a loaded.
Google's
it's a very very loaded.
That's the operative phrase.
It's a chock full of potential things. So let's talk about first the fact that you get a website up, and it's coded well, and it's got plenty of content and written well, and your GMB account is set up. Your Google My Business, you guys know it as your map, and that's all integrated well, and citations are done, and reviews are integrated.
Right.
And maybe there's a blog. Okay.
Which is what we've been calling the base level these days.
So now you have this higher base level, because I had a guy actually call today like this, and he's like, Nolan, I went into Topical Authority blog on your website that I found, and it was topical relevance and getting keywords that people actually want to click on. And this guy was old school, and he was like, I want to talk about that and what y'all can do to help me. And can you take a look at all the blogs I'm doing to make sure that I'm doing this right and what maybe y'all could do for me? And I was like, I'm really going to take you to a little bit different place during this conversation, and hopefully you'll stay open to it as we discuss it. And he said, yeah, that's what I called for. I said, okay, great. So your site and the idea of blogging is really antiquated with what you're talking about. And I said, you need the baseline information. He had about 20 service pages So I was like, I can tell you've worked on it. He said, so it's all messed up? I said, no, it's not all messed up at all. It's just that your methodology is 5 years old.
Yeah, your methodology is slightly out of date.
Yeah, your methodology.
Not slightly. 5 years is a long time.
It's 5 years out of date. So he had these pages, and his pages were shallow content, 150 to 250 words. Mm-hmm. They weren't targeted to the city, and they weren't written that well otherwise. But he did have content on the services. And then he had somebody on the side, presumably that didn't truly care about the business, churning out blogs regularly, right? And so I'm like, okay, so I want to take your thought process and say, you do need content for the basis of keyword search, but then we need this deep, rich content, and then we want to, maybe do some blogging, but it's not as important. Other changes are more important. So I guess part of the reasons I brought that up is because we were talking about the base level stuff, and the base level work is really important, so you have to have that done. And then once base level work is done, I actually got a sale today from a client I was telling you about near the Great Lakes.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that client recommended another commercial roofer. Actually, he's residential and commercial. He recommended a guy that's just commercial roofing. Okay. And that guy's site is chock full of content, and he optimizes for all kinds of stuff. He was actually in a suburb of Pittsburgh, but we optimized him for Pittsburgh on the organic side of things, and because his map wasn't worthy of that on the primary content.
Right.
And so we moved him over, and so you want to talk about leads, we moved that guy over on the organic side to Pittsburgh, and his address is still, he never got another address. He actually got a virtual office that got turned off, I just noticed actually. Wow. He's still a happy enough client to have referred someone else that signed up today. Although he should have a legit physical location within Pittsburgh, but he does not. And the virtual office got taken down. So, and let's talk about this one. Here's one to talk about. So he's organically in Pittsburgh, and I'm going to say that on a regular basis.
You're now talking about the one that referred
the guy, our client that referred somebody else.
The new sale. Okay.
Our client that referred someone else, and I'm going to say that he probably gets about 20 leads a month off of it. But now this guy got about 20 leads a month off of commercial and residential. And by the way, guys, this commercial residential guy farms through us a large geographic area for commercial to get just a few leads each month. Right. So Pittsburgh might bring him in 5 or 10 commercial leads in a best month, and he might get another 3 or 4 or 5 commercial leads by having literally 200 city pages up. For commercial. And so he's got everything optimized from acrylic roofing to silicone to TPO to PVC to cool roofing on this page, and then those are integrated in this large geographic area.
Right.
Now we have commercial roofers, Jason, that I have been verbally told get 3 to 4 commercial leads a month, and that's it, and they're extremely happy with us.
Yeah.
Because all they do is like a roof coating, and the other option is to not get leads, walk into the buildings, or to postcard, which is popular among certain factions of commercial roofers.
Yes.
And those calls will cost them $1,000 a piece.
Yeah. But then the job is worth...
The job is an average $150,000 job.
Yeah.
You know?
So that's why they're happy with 4 leads a month.
Or a $50,000 average job, whatever it is, right? Yeah. And that's usually about a third. A third material, a third labor, a third profit.
Right.
Especially on those roof coatings.
Yeah.
So anyway, so we've got a guy, and then I've got another guy, and I want to go back to some of this. I didn't want to dive too deep into methodology of how the leads get produced before I tell some of the examples.
Okay.
I know a guy that's a client out of Fort Collins, who did $5 million a year out of their map listing, and primarily so high, doing hundreds of roofs per year, because Fort Collins gets hit in that metro area almost every year for hail.
Yeah.
So it's an act of God situation over and over again, and this guy's going to get hundreds of calls in a month when there's hail, if not more, maybe.
Yeah, he can have.
Yeah, you could get 1,000 calls in a month. We've had people get 750 roofs in a year, that actually went in San Antonio after the 2016 worst hailstorm in San Antonio.
Right.
And that individual did 750 roofs in that year, all off of organic.
Right. Didn't run any PPC.
Didn't run any off of mapping and organic keywords. And the next year still did 300 because it was the worst storm monetarily in San Antonio history.
Yeah.
And the guy out of Fort Collins that had the map up went from 5 million down to 1.5 million, just like that. Now that guy's interesting because he sought out professional services. We've talked about him once before.
Yeah, yeah.
He sought out professional services only after, didn't even know why until speaking to me that this happened. Because we learned that he was paying clients for reviews. So
oh, okay, that one. Now I remember.
he was doing payola.
Which he didn't even know was wrong.
Yeah, and Jason, he didn't know that it was wrong because he'd completely not spent enough time and energy and a respect level enough to have professional services accompanying his marketing.
Right.
So he was sales-oriented, sales origin roofer, going hardcore sales without worry of anything.
Without consulting an expert
Yeah.
on the ramifications of anything.
Had he
doing.
done that, he would have known at some point down the line of communication that you can't pay the person in your office or especially the client for the lead. I mean, the client shouldn't be paid for the review because it's payola for the review. Google took the site down and just stated you violated Google's quality guidelines and your map is done.
Yeah, they will never actually tell you which rule you violated.
And they never told him. But I'm 100% that this is what happened.
Yeah.
Because
Well, weren't you talking to him and he basically like let slip? Well, I did this, and you were like, oh, that's it.
Yeah, I'm like that's. Well, he actually let slip that. He didn't let it slip. He had somebody working there, whose wife was into SEO, who kept trying to get in and do stuff for him that he didn't let do. That he later let go the husband. And in between the two of them, somebody might have had a video of a sales meeting where he was talking about this stuff. I'm guessing. It's conjecture on my part, but I know that he was violating that Google quality guideline, Google Webmaster rule, and they took his site down, and he basically lost his company overnight. I mean, he was laying off people left and right, and then finally, and by the way, had he had a website up, he would have gotten more results and even more stuff, and he would have had his organic side to bolster him up, and his map would have been stronger and safe.
Yeah. I mean, if he'd had a website up with righteous reviews and been using that, he'd have gotten just as many reviews as he did with the payola, and he would have been in no danger.
So if somebody's not in, so I want to repeat some of this to bring it together, and then I want to talk about the reasoning behind this and what you can do to even do more than this. So these are people with out full web presences and even some of the clients that we have that we've done phenomenal work on our end could do more work on their end to make their brand even bigger. So I'm going to repeat some of this. People who aren't even fully conceptualized online like they could be in the eyes of Google. They are doing 3 to 4 leads in a month and happy on commercial only. I've got another guy in Pittsburgh that does, I'm sorry, I forget. It's in different city that guy does Pittsburgh. A different city does 15 to 20 commercial leads a month, which is phenomenal.
That's, geez.
Yeah. We have a client that does that.
Wow, that's awesome.
And we count those through his system because we call track him.
Yeah.
We don't call track everybody, but this is a guy we call tracked. And he's getting 15 to 20 on a regular basis. He has a massive metropolitan area that the map is in that does well, and he does really well in his organic, and he has city pages up. I do city pages a lot for a commercial roofer because we're farming a larger pond for fewer fish. Now,
fewer, bigger fish.
This is an older client that does, guess how many reviews he has. The company does 12 to 15 million a year, which obviously does plenty of commercial roofs, has 0 reviews. 0. Still to this day is in pack 3 because of other things. Guys, it's not a lot of people think that one thing gets the map pack up or that it's not optimizable. We clearly optimize his map.
Yeah.
I will say,
and we do that for a lot of people. We do that for a lot of clients.
A lot of clients, yeah. Even the guy that referred the other guy that signed up,
yeah,
has only got like 8 reviews or something. Yeah. So he's
that's pretty. When we get, if we get a new client in and they've got like 20 or more, we're like, whoa, this person's serious, and we're much more upbeat about it because we know.
I talked to a guy today that had 398.
Wow.
398. Clearly working on it.
Yeah.
Very great possibility for righteous reviews and working that content in through.
Absolutely.
So when you have this stuff, I mean, you can have somebody getting 3 or 4. You can go all the way to some guy. We have a client in Houston after 2016 hurricane, got like 100 calls a week, and then it eventually got like 30 calls a week for like another year, and then we got like 15 calls a week.
Yeah.
Took like almost 2 years for those to wane off to where they were getting like 15 or 20 in a month.
Yeah. But even when it did, they were at a very nice, sustainable level on their business.
They were. They wish they had the other leads back, but they're still a client today.
Right.
And they're poised to do even better next time because really, if they're a newer fight in the city of Houston. If they were in the top notch on everything, they'd probably be getting 30, 40 calls, 50 calls in a month off of that. But this is off the organic that's strong, but they still weren't in the Pack 3 yet because they were brand new when they started. They were out of Magnolia, as you remember, when they started.
Okay, yeah.
Well, wait a minute. Yeah, it's that one. That is the one I'm thinking about, I think. Anyway, but these are different experiences that we've had. We've call tracked people. We've listened to them. We don't listen to all the leads, but we've call tracked a lot of them. Google Analytics will show how many keywords are in the top 100. Mm-hmm. They'll show how many impressions you get. They'll show how many phone calls show up off the GMB account. You can put in some multipliers that people do their best guesstimate to guess how much other business comes off of it. Because as we know, there's the no-click client nowadays. What do they call it?
That's what they call it, no-click search.
No-click search. So you're organically optimized, but somebody's on their desktop or laptop or iPad and then finds people, looks at stuff, doesn't click or call, and then calls on their cell phone.
Yeah.
And that's actually...
a lot of times the only thing we get on that Google kills it. They call it a no-click. If they click your phone number over in the GMB sidebar, that's a no-click. They don't count that as a click.
We have to code that to show it.
We have to go into analytics and Search Console and find that. That's what we did with a recent roofing client that did not understand how much of their business was coming from us, and it turned out 90% of their phone calls were coming through their GM.
We're making a specific point to talk about positivity on and happy stuff and happy clients and stuff. And we've got hundreds of happy clients that have this, but these cases are interesting to talk about because someone will call up, and I did want to talk about this during the conversation, and forget where the business is coming from. So, Jason, is it safe to say, and people listening will go, oh, Nolan, that's obvious. I know that almost all my business is digitally derived. But when you're stuck in the thick of it and you forget all the little things that happened along the way, like a quality web service, like set up your custom design and custom code and regular work on your GMB account, citations and code base changes as needed and on-site changes and blogging still. Blogging still is fine, but that guy only did blogging.
Yeah, if that's the only thing you do, it's not enough, but it's one of the many things you must do.
It was the only thing he was doing aggressively, and in fact, those were long content pages, and he had no content on the other pages.
Yeah.
So, and the site was old and everything else. I talked to another guy out of Bay Area, California, earlier today, this morning, and he was going, Nolan, I'm still grappling with this. I know you're a great price. I know that you're a great service. I just don't know if I want to redesign the site. I said, oh gosh, your site is clearly old. I said, I'm not here to judge things. I'm way transcended beyond that point. I don't care that it's old. I said, but just to get your brain
straight. But Google cares that it's old.
Just to get your brain straight, you have to have the code base. You have to have the content. You have to have the updates. I said, I'm 99.5% sure that this is like years old, has no schema code and very little semantic markup. So let me just give you a way Google looks at your site now. They have no idea where your header is, where your footer is, where your body content is, what you do for a living for sure, or where your logo is, and there's another 95 of them, right?
Right.
They have to guess at all that stuff the way your code base is. Right. So when we redo all the code base, and I said you need the footer and connected with your reviews, and there's all sorts of details, they're going to give little points for all this stuff. And without this being done, you wouldn't optimize as high as you could.
Right.
So all these best practices need to be done. And then we move on to, and so most of the clients when we talk to you guys, at least today, and this has kind of been a change this has definitely been a change within the last year, within the last 12 months, that we have hundreds of clients already now today that are very pleased, that are still happy clients, that are referring people to become clients, that are not participating in expertise, authority, and trust, or branding of their own brand online.
Right.
So now they're
reasonably successful by their own metric, by their own judgment, and they haven't even done everything they can do.
So we take clients that get as little as 3 or 4 for commercial only that are very happy.
Right.
Actually tell us they're very happy because they get a big commercial job every month.
Yeah.
We have people that get a dozen leads in a month that are very happy, that are in a smaller market that get residential. We have people that get 20. We have people where acts of God occur that get hundreds or maybe 1,000 calls in 1 month, and everything in between.
Yeah.
And that's
and
your
while
answer.
we are not responsible for the act of God, we are responsible for them being found after the act of God.
We are responsible for that, Jason, and people commonly will say, oh, well, anybody could have done it. There was a hailstorm or a hurricane. Absolutely not true. If you're not online, you won't get those calls. The guy that got the 750 out of 2016 hailstorm out of San Antonio was about to close shop. He specifically said to me in December 2015 when we signed him up, actually I talked to him in October, his website was ready in December, I think-ish of 2015.
That sounds right, yeah. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, it was optimizing, and he said, I'm going to retire poorer than I thought, and then I was planning on it, but I'm tired of trying SEO firms, I'm tired of worrying about this stuff, and I'm just not making the money. So
he basically told you, you're the last one I'm going to try.
You're the last one I'm going to try.
After this.
I'm doing like 40 or 50 jobs a year. It's wearing me out. I'm not making enough, and I'm just going to kind of give up and do a few jobs here and there until I can't do them anymore if this doesn't work. Site went up for about 4 months. Hailstorm hits. He was high in ranking. Could have been higher the next year he was, but he was high. He was already showing up in some map placement even.
Right.
And then he had participated in reviews even early on before we even had righteous reviews.
Yeah, we didn't even, the technology for the check-in system
wasn't even there.
The geocoding and all that wasn't even there, so we couldn't have done
Wasn't there in 2016. And this
God,
guy,
imagine if we got it now.
Oh man!
Imagine if we got the same situation now. That would just
yeah.
be
the
amazing.
guy's site from the Great Lakes area that was doing that one was, I mean, it was just. It's really a fantastic site, and he also does a pay-per-click campaign, which we'll talk about in a minute too.
Right.
So let's talk about, so now all these best practices being done on a higher level than people normally have.
Right.
People understanding that they need these things in order to show up in ranking, and now they know the ramifications. I want to talk about another one that I didn't sign up, and it's fine that he didn't sign up. His name was Bobby. He was out of Granbury, Texas, which is a county of 60,000 people.
Right.
And we've talked about some Granbury guys here recently on some of the podcasts, but he wasn't even. This is a different guy.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the one we referenced a couple.
No, I just talked to this guy, and I talked to him. He said, "Nolan, well, I'm going to go at it alone for now." And I said, "Okay." I said, "That's fine." I said, "It's whenever you're ready is fine." But I forgot why I brought him up. I was talking about highest best practices. Usage of it. I don't remember my point on that one, man. It slipped I'm talking about too many things at one time. He was in a market that would have done well, that needed to be set up professionally, and he was going to go at it alone. All the changes that we were talking about, there's just no way an individual could make all these changes or could do all these things on their own. Said,
even for a county of only 60,000 people.
There's things that they could do on their own that would be very helpful, like getting leads, working on their GMB account, stuff like that.
Getting reviews.
I was moving towards talking about the brand relationship of it. Oh, he had made a comment about he said, I only need 200 sales a month. And I laughed.
$200 a month?
I laughed. I was like, hey, look, $200 a month is a lot. And that's not just, and he chuckled about it. I said, let's be honest, you're in a town of, so we're talking about reality of what somebody can expect here, right?
Right.
I said, let's be honest about it, Bobby. You're in a town of, or a county of 60,000. He said, oh, but I work this one or that one. I said, I know you work DFW, Dallas-Fort Worth, and you work the westward side, which would be Fort Worth, Benbrook, Weatherford, Aledo.
Right.
I get all that, but you're in Granbury. Yeah. So let's be real.
And so most of your business is going to come from
and
there.
You don't have a location somewhere else, and you want to do our $600 a month program, which is robust, but going to cover Granbury.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about it for a minute. And I said, I'm not trying to burst your bubble. And ultimately, he didn't sign up, Jason, but I really don't want to sign somebody up that goes, I only want $200 a month. And I was like, okay, so is it reasonable to spend $600 a month and to sell, I'm sorry, $200 a year? Or did I say $200 a month?
Yeah, you said $200 a month. I'm thinking.
Well, no, I'm sorry. I apologize, guys. My brain is, it's been a busy 2 weeks.
$200 a month in roofing sales. Holy
It's been a.
That's a roofing empire.
Guys, we have the busiest spring that we've ever had.
And it's not even February yet. And
Yeah.
we're calling it spring because we're getting our.
But Jason, he still wanted 200.
Yeah.
So what I want to talk about isn't really even reasonableness. How can somebody achieve 200 sales or 300 sales? I talked to a guy that we signed up this week. He does 700 to 800, but they door knock like madmen.
Yeah.
And he wants.
And where are they?
I forgot, but he's in a densely populated area.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's the point. It's the market is a huge.
There's not even enough
factor.
homes in Granbury to door knock to do 200 in a year without an act of God.
Right.
Probably.
Yeah. If there's not a flood, which they have a lake there.
There's
so
60,000 houses. So I'll do the math on people like this. So there's 60,000 houses. That means there's about 20,000 rooftops, and this is really loose math, right? 3 people per rooftop. This doesn't even take out, apartments.
You mean 60,000 people?
60,000 people.
60,000 houses and 20,000 rooftops. They only allow a roof on every third house in Granbury.
Okay, 60,000 people, 3 people per house, 20,000 roofs.
Right.
Every roof going to get touched every 10 years, maybe, without an act of God.
Yeah, without a hailstorm.
So now we're to 2,000 people searching Google.
Yeah.
And if he was the biggest thing in town, and I want to talk about this. So is it possible, guys? Yes, it's possible.
It is.
It is possible for him to pull 200 roofs out of Granbury, Texas, which is Hood County, which is about an hour and a half away from our office. An hour away.
No, about 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
It's got a beautiful little...
We're in Texas. We measure distance in units of time.
Yeah.
Nobody else does that.
Nobody else does that?
Yeah, when I first met my wife's family, she's from New York. And my father-in-law asked me, so how far is El Paso from you? And we're in Fort Worth, which is North Texas, kind of toward the
7-8 hours.
And
it's
El Paso is, if you know what Texas looks like, it's on the point, on the far west.
Yeah.
And I said, well, it's about 9 hours away.
Okay.
And he was like, what the hell does that mean? Like if you get in your car and drive there, it's going to take
That's rush hour from Jersey through New York City.
It's so big, we measure distance like space. It's light years or hours.
That's interesting.
Road hours.
You remember me talking about this? We'll go back to this guy, and I want to explain this. It's going to be really interesting on this Hood County deal. But do you remember people talking about a roofer or a roofer? Do you remember me talking about it? And it's the lines of where they say roofer compared to roofer is really kind of a squishy area. I actually had somebody out of Texas say a roofer instead of roofer. But most people here in Texas would say roofer.
Would say roofer, yeah.
But roofer.
Roofer.
Yeah, like a dog.
Sounds like not a native Texan.
It may not have been.
Texan by choice.
It may not have been a Texan. And I do see people in the Northeast or somewhere in Pennsylvania, North Carolina up will start to say a roofer.
That's where they got that funny accent.
Anyway, let's talk about this guy, Bobby, who was a great guy.
Yeah.
And I ended the conversation saying, hey, you're not ready yet. And I said, Bobby, if you don't have money yet, it's fine. I said, we're a really great deal. And I've started being a little more free with some pricing talk, because somebody that did a $600 site that was a competitor of ours, do you think they're going to have, how much do you think they're going to have spend with that guy to even get close to our $600 level? I mean, this is going to be like the equivalent of somebody at like what? I don't want to put words in your mouth. But
our $600 site is somebody else's $1,200 site.
$1,200, $2,000.
Yeah, maybe
down.
Even more.
And I want to say this, Jason, are they really going to get it?
No.
They're not going to get it.
Because the simple fact is that SEO is hard. There's a lot of things you have to do. And most people are trying, and I get why they try to do this, because they're trying to optimize the way their business runs.
Right.
So they're trying to pick 5 things that they think are key. And part of this is because even among SEO people, there's a lot of misinformation and misunderstanding. But they're trying to pick 5 or 6 things that are key that they think will work and do the trick.
Yeah.
And we don't leave it at that. We do absolutely everything we can possibly do.
Man, I hear so many people paying $1,500, pretty average, $2,000, $3,000, and they are literally getting almost no work done to the site.
Yeah, and then we look at the sites, and it's always the same issues every time.
And then they're all mad at all SEO, or very trigger shy at least. Nice people, been messed around, but it's crazy. And I don't know, you can't get custom design. You're not going to get 100 points of schema code. Right. You're not going to get an integrated reputation management software that allows you to go into the city and service pages and tag them on every job with a check-in photo and caption, because they're not going to, for one thing, build a big enough website to tag these pages that can and do optimize, nor will they put in the short code so that you can pick it from your phone and do the check-in and tag the pages in the first place.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you've got this interactive website that's getting more changes that are custom content on individual service and city pages that can show up in ranking and affect your map placement. Right. So this guy was going to go at it alone, and he may not have had the money, so I didn't pry or ask. I just said, hey, look, it's okay. It's really okay. I said, I understand you're going to try to do it. He said, I'll call you if I get behind. I said, look, you can't do all the work that the crew does here, because there's 30 people and we're highly experienced. There's stuff you can do, and I gave him some pointers. I said, hey, if you're down on your luck right now, and you need to, and you can't pay the $600 for a smaller, for this site that'll do this county just fine, work on your Google My Business account and get some reviews and maybe post some photos. That'll help you out. And he said, well, thanks, Nolan, I appreciate it. I said, just call us when you're ready. Call us when you're ready to do it. Now let's talk about it. He might have gotten, a little like he didn't like the conversation, because he was talking about doing 200 people in 1 year. Well, 200 roofs in 1 year, Jason, is going to be probably, even if they get beat down here in Texas by really cheap labor and other stuff going on, and people paying off the deductible, which they're not supposed to do anymore. But let's say that they do all this stuff and they pull with the high-end roofs and low-end roofs, and it's not like Granbury is, Collin County or North Dallas, right? Where all the rich folk. It's not Prestonwood, or, you know what I mean? So he gets $3,000 a roof, and he has his business expenses, and my brain's having trouble coming up with that, but I think that's $600,000 a year, and then he's still got to pay for his marketing and his...
And yes, it is. You had that right.
$600,000. So he's got to pay for his marketing, and he's got to pay for any expenses, a truck, some hired and non-owned auto insurance, and he's got to pay for an office if he wants one or works out of his house, and maybe salesperson, which is here, I think they call it a 10-50-50 split, where they pay the salesperson 50%. Maybe Bobby didn't make every sale because it was a lot.
Yeah.
And so they took the profit and then took 10% off of the gross, and then what was left they split 50-50 with the salesperson.
Right.
So they do a $12,000 roof that has, I don't know, my numbers may be wrong, guys, don't crucify me if it is, but let's say it's a third labor, material, profit, and there's $4,000 left. They take 10% off the total, which is $1,200, subtract it from the $4,000, and now you're down to $2,800, and then they split that with the salesperson.
So he gets $1,400.
He gets $1,400, and he used the 10% to run his overhead.
Right.
So that's the 10-50-50 split. And so the guy gets, if somebody else made the sale, he got the $1,400 plus the $1,200, and he's at, what is that, 14, 24, 2,600.
Yes.
But he made some of the sales himself, so he's close to 3,000.
We're calling it
I'm not
3,000.
too far off, maybe, right?
Right.
Might have been a little rich for some people. People might argue, but man, he sold he sheet metal fabricated a few guys, and he made a 50% margin.
And Granbury does have it has the neighborhoods on the lake.
It has the lake houses. He
He
got some architectural shingles, and he got some. It wasn't all just the cheapest one, right?
Right.
One all mobile home roofs, and I like that one, by the way, for a category for people. Anyway, so he did all that work. He made $50,000 a month. He wanted to spend $600 a month on his marketing. But how do you get 200 out of Granbury? So there's 2,000 people getting their roofs redone without an act of God.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them go to Google, let's say 1,500. There's 20, 30 choices on the front page of the website of the Google search, right?
Right.
And if he's at the top of search rankings and he's dominating, he might get, I don't know, a couple hundred calls out of that, right? Or
He might actually get his 200.
he might actually get 200 calls out of that, but he doesn't sell them all.
True enough, yeah.
So he does really well on Google and sells like 80, right? So how's he going to get the other business out of that market to get to his 200? Well, Jason, if he fought past nerves and learned door knocking, he could actually door knock all those 20,000 rooftops.
Right.
And door knock people. They could look for problems on it. They could get insurance to cover things that people didn't think they had, right? A hailstorm hits often enough in Texas that you can just go looking for insurance claims, right?
Right.
He could advertise in other ways. He could join civic organizations like Chamber or the BBB. He could make sure he got his link backs from those places.
Right.
He could support his kid's little league, or his kid goes to a private school and he has a link back from the EDU of the local area. Right?
That's a gold link, but
Yeah. And he could do these things from a digital footprint standpoint that Google sees him as an authority and a local brand. When he checks in on job sites with righteous reviews, he gets to take a photo of the job. So let's say that he's in Crescent, Texas, which is close to Granbury, and it's kind of a growing area. People have their little mini ranchettes out there on an acre or 2 acres with a septic system, right?
Right.
He's out there doing I think you have to have 2 acres now. They did it for a while. You could just have an acre, but you have to have your septic so far away from your, not the aerobic system, but they spray the gray water. And they
the leach field thing?
They don't do
no,
the
not
leach field as much anymore. They take that out of a tank and spray that gray water after it goes through a couple of tanks.
Ah, okay.
And it sprays through a sprinkler system. It's supposed to be safe.
I've always lived in the city. I don't know any of this.
They don't want that stuff spraying too far to where it seeps down in the groundwater where their well takes the water
or it then
from.
goes down to the aquifer and gets in the wells.
Then you're somewhere getting like the guinea worm, and that's a PBS special for a bad water quality of third world countries.
There you go.
Anyway, so he's out there getting those jobs in Crescent, and he's doing other stuff, and he asks for a review, and 1 out of 12 people leave a review, but he's got his righteous reviews app. Before he leaves, so he can get geocoded right there, he picks his Crescent page, he picks his hail damage roof replacement page, and he had a photo, and he asks the client for a review, and then he gets in his truck and he tags his photo, said just did a hail damage roof repair in Crescent, picks the Crescent page, picks the roof repair page, did a caption, has a photo, hits check-in, and then it automatically uploads the unique photo, the caption that keys in there, and the geocode called check-in, which Google, it's like, I've been explaining it to people now because it makes sense. It's like raising your hand and say, hey Google,
I was here
and did a job, please recognize me.
Right.
And so they do recognize you.
They do. They respect it.
They respect that. That flows back not only through now your Crescent page and your hail damage roof repair page, but it also flows in through GMB and Google My Business, which increases something called expertise, authority, and trust, which indirectly is talking about brand and your power digitally online. And it greatly expands your ability to get these 80 sales that are going to come out without an act of God out of Granbury, because you immersively begin to dominate your market on a digital footprint. And now he's getting more digital footprint, and maybe the 80 can go to 100, maybe it can go to 120, maybe he takes up and he's in there for anything anybody types in, because now he's done those 100 jobs in a year. He's checked into all of them, and what did he get? He got 3 unique changes on 2 different pages. That's 6, right?
100 times last year. So every 3 days, every 3.2 days or whatever it is, he got a unique change going.
Actually, if you count those on 2 pages, he's got 600 changes a year.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get the review back, which also populates, and also helps out the Google account or the BBB, Google sees the BBB, that all helps your organic ranking. Your brand's getting stronger.
Right.
It's being self-confirmed every time work is done. Now the client, when you hit check-in, you put in their cell phone and email, they got links to your Google review, Facebook review, BBB, did I say that? Google review. Anyway, so they got links and could pick one. And even if they didn't leave one, but now they're more likely to, so 1 out of 5 or 6 is leaving a review, right? But 85% that didn't leave a review are all SEO opportunities, increasing your brand awareness through the eyes of Google.
Right. Causing Google to recognize your brand. Not you, not your customers, not your community, but Google.
Not only do you nudge up in ranking and go from your 50, 60 sales to 70, 80, or 100, but you bolster your dominance online. You further your branded reliability and image in the eyes of Google from your competition. You're getting more reviews across the web, and your brand has grown. And on the side, you've done some extra special stuff, like the kids' baseball game link back,
right?
Or the BBB link back, or the chamber link back, or your church or civic, that you're doing some sort of local service or duty or charitable contribution in your community.
Look, if a local church needs a roof repair,
yeah,
do it. If you can't do it for free, do it for a deep discount. Do it for cost.
Oh, they would tithe 10%, Jason. We're in. I know you don't know this stuff, but they would tithe 10% discount.
I grew up Catholic. I know.
They would tithe 10% discount for a link back on the website.
There
Kindly, please, sir. I'll give you a 10% discount on tithe if I could get that, please.
Right.
Nobody's going to tell you no, you know. And then you anyway. So yeah. How dare you not know this Texas stuff? There's a church on every corner that needs a roof, guys.
Right.
Yeah. There is. There really is. Especially out in Hood County, there'll be one every corner.
Yeah.
There's a football stadium and a church.
You'll drive past a football stadium that looks like it's for a pro team or a big college, and it turns out it's for the local high school.
Friday night lights and Sunday morning service, man.
There you go.
That's it.
That's Texas.
It is Texas, especially rural Texas, you know. So anyway, those are things that you get into, and you increase your digital footprint, and you get more and more business from it. And then sure, you can add more stuff. There's things you can do outside of here, and some of it will even help your organic ranking. You can do pay-per-click advertising, like we're talking about the Great Lakes guy.
Right.
He does about $3,000 a month on that. By the way, if we do that through us, we're transparent billing, which means we charge our fee separately, and then you see your charge come from Google. Don't let anybody do it any different, because it's really the only way to ensure that the clicks got done. Right? If you're going to do a straight pay-per-click campaign, you want to have a transparent billing. So he does that with us, and like I said, he's pleased and recommended someone else. You can go to some of the lead sources. You could go to, I don't ever like mention them, but we all know the top 3. So you can go buy lead sources from the top 3. One of the top 3 bought the other top 3, and so there's 2.
Yeah.
And there might be a little offshoot one here and there. There's some people that do telemarketing leads. Did I tell you that lead call I got the other day?
No.
I wasn't mad at him for calling. It's fine.
Oh,
I get it.
wait, the guy that was asking for our customer list?
Yeah. No. No, somebody called and said, "Hey, I don't know if I told you about this guy. I get some calls that are just, interesting calls, we'll say." But he called and said, "I work at this telemarketing outfit that gets leads for roofers through telemarketing, and we're calling you because we got a client out of Oklahoma who works the whole state, and he needs leads." And he's like, "I'm calling to get leads for him." And I'm like, "Well, wait a minute." So this is interesting to talk about. Like, how can somebody get a lead? How many leads am I going to get? How can I get leads for my roofing company? Fine. It's a good question.
It is.
And so, guys, why would somebody...
But that one's a bad answer.
Why would somebody that works at a telemarketing outfit that supposedly telemarkets for you guys to get leads call us to get leads? And why would somebody that's a roofer buy a lead? Okay, so let's talk about that too and explain the nature of leads. This is a long one. I hope people appreciate this one because I'm spending some extra time on it. When you buy a lead, for the most part, you're buying a lead that derives from the number one method of getting a lead that has ever existed in humanity, which is the Google platform.
With the internet.
Search. And primarily for a roofer, it's going to be Google search because it's a direct relevant search, or a map, or a review. It might integrate through social media, but it's a digital online thing. And from a Google standpoint, 75% of service searches, somebody called qualms on this the other day and I looked it up, it's not 75% if it's a e-commerce item.
Okay.
More people click on a paid ad. Not more people, but it's a higher percentage that click on a paid ad than 25%.
Okay.
If it's a service item, 75% of people want to go to the website or the map. Out of the 75%, if it's not a no-click call, which is still an organic derived thing, by the way,
right,
the people that do click, half are on the website and half are on the map, or both.
Right.
And so, anyway, this what was my point? The click of the what was my point on the thing?
I don't know. I'm waiting for you to get there.
I forgot what were we talking about before that? What was the point before that? There's been too many.
You made a lot of points.
There's been too many points.
You were talking about how does a roofer get a lead? Why would you buy a lead, and where
does
a paid lead come from?
Okay, thanks. All right, because 75% of the search traffic is organic.
Right.
So when you buy a lead from the 3 lead sources that we're talking about, I will agree that some of that is just that they're common knowledge and people might go direct search traffic, but much of their traffic too, and I don't know what the percentage of this, guys, but I'm going to guess like the majority of their traffic is because they are in organic search rankings.
Right.
So
because they optimize the listings on their service for those towns.
Correct. Yeah. So they're up there with the local roofers.
Right.
But Google used to be called Google Local, now called Google My Business, right?
Right.
But I really like to think of it, and for purpose of explaining to this, it's Google Local. So there's this thing called search on a search engine, 90% through Google, by the way. And then you can get up there and search, and other people are up there and search. The leads you buy are because people are up there and search.
Right.
People misunderstand this little, it's like a circular logic thing, but I need leads. But you could show up and partake in 75% of all leads online for a roofer by getting yourself up in local search.
Right.
That lead is far superior, by the way. I forgot to bring that up. So the lead itself is vastly superior if it's off your own branded organic presence because they weren't on a paid platform. The paid platform sells it to multiple people, or the consumer is married into the paid platform, not loyal to your brand.
Yeah, the consumer is going to whichever one of the two, and they're going to that one because they like the prices they get there through that platform.
Multiple bids.
Yeah, all that. So they have no loyalty to the final service provider.
No.
Generally, I'm sure there are exceptions.
They'll repeat.
And so the next time they need the same service, they'll go back to that platform, not
they have brand loyalty to that brand, not your brand.
Right.
So that's a point to take in. Also, when you get these, they're going to be less likely to shop, more likely to repeat buy, more likely to buy into your brand.
Right.
You've bolstered your brand reviews and photos and these check-ins and all this branded stuff, and you've moved up in search rankings. And so when people buy leads, when they look at leads, there's a clear misconception as to how the whole thing occurs.
Yeah.
Right? And you guys can go in and increase your brand. You can increase your rankings. You can show up for more keywords. You can increase the map placement, how high you show up in maps. You can increase photos and pictures and an activity with the potential client, reviews and respect from your brand, and then you can pull more and more off of that. So that you can pay for clicks. You can go on and do some social media, depending on how you do it, can work. I like remarketing, retargeting, and pixel tracking.
Definitely.
I think that's fantastic stuff. That basically means that anybody that goes to your website gets hit up again on Google or Facebook, and your ad follows them around.
Yeah, if they go on a page that's got Google Ads enabled in the sidebar, or banner at the top, they'll see your ad possibly.
Jason,
or your ad will pop up on Facebook when they go there.
Yeah, and the average person goes to Facebook
14 times a day, which is frightening.
14 times a day they go to Facebook, and the statistic is that we saw and went into a conference which is you go from about a 3% conversion, like a 12-15%. So you literally go up by like 300, 400, 500% if they see it regularly.
Right.
And it makes sense. This is perfect for a roofer because it's not always an immediate sale.
Yeah.
And then they get to see
if it's not hailstorm type of stuff, people are often thinking, do I need to replace roof yet? Can I wait another year?
Let's find somebody. Let's get.
And by the way, if they're thinking one day, let me check this out, and they think, you know what, I can wait 6 months. I can wait till next year.
Mm-hmm.
And if your ad has followed them around for the past year, then you're in their head.
I don't think we tag it that long usually. It's usually about 60, 90 days.
Okay.
You don't want people too angry at your ad following them around. I had somebody mad at us the other day about roofing. Webmasters, the ad followed them around. They're like, your ad followed me so much I would never do business with you. But you know what, guys? That's not the normal situation.
I'm highly aware of you and know your company exists. You must not be good advertisers.
Yeah. But so you guys can do all of these things. And from my perspective, you should try a lot of stuff. Organic, because it is 75% of search, is the clear winner. The next best way to spend money is retargeting, remarketing, and pixel tracking. It's very inexpensive.
Right.
The next best way might be pay-per-click, or it might be you buying a lead.
I wanted to make a point about the telemarketer that called you. He's telling his client.
I didn't finish. I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah.
He's telling his client that he's going to telemarket for leads, meaning supposedly he's calling customers and trying to get people to call back.
Right.
Instead, he is tacitly admitting that the internet-derived lead is more plentiful. So he's calling us to get us to sell him the leads we have so he can resell them to you at a markup without actually having to call 200 people a week in the area.
Right, because he has a hard time doing that, and there's more leads on the internet.
Right.
Before I fully comment, it was Jason's big word of the podcast, which I didn't understand what it meant.
Okay.
I don't know what tacitly means. What does tacitly?
Tacitly is like he's admitting it without saying it.
That's what that means.
Yes.
I would be shocked if anybody. I'm not saying
tacitly is not an unusual
it's
word.
Not.
No.
My goodness, I don't think I've ever heard that word. I guess Jason, enjoys these little moments to where, but like I'll bring it up because I find it socially awkward and I just find it fascinating. But that's some seriously good vocabulary, Jason.
Well, thank you.
You should become a rapper or something.
A rapper.
Yeah, you could really, your command of the English language, or I don't know, like the old white rapper. You could
old white
the old bearded white rapper.
Not dirty old.
Not
bastard.
ODB.
Not ODB.
Not ODB.
Just OB.
I'm sorry. I apologize that I know who ODB is. I greatly apologize.
OWB. Old white bastard.
There you go. OWB. It's your new office nickname. You're now be OWB.
Great.
But yeah, I was going to finish up talking about it after responding to your word of the day.
Gotcha.
But yeah, it is absolutely ridiculous that somebody called looking for leads, which I am not going to say even to a roofer that finding a lead through a telemarketing company is necessarily a bad thing to do.
No.
It's not bad.
But if it's a sketchy telemarketing company who's not actually doing the job that you paid them to do.
It is.
Yeah.
They're like, God, we could call everybody, but wait a minute.
What if we just called...
Let's call the Webmasters. Yeah.
I bet those guys can just sell us leads and we can do 1 hour of work this week.
That service looks great. Hello, roofing telemarketing service. Can you do work for us? Yeah, sure we can. It's like, we can get you leads. Hello, Webmasters.
Yeah.
We need some leads right now because we just secured.
We got a guy on the hook.
Yeah, I did not call him back.
I'm shocked.
I did not.
I am slightly shocked because sometimes he'll call the people back, someone like that, like another service provider.
No, sir. No, I do not call people back to chastise them. I do
You
not.
will answer the phone and mess with them.
I will answer the phone.
That's
I will
true.
never call anybody back just to dog them out.
Mea culpa. I was wrong.
No, in fact, I find that I do not want to be in a negative place in the universe for calling and I never even make fun of people. People automatically assume I'm going to make fun of their old websites. I don't know why. I think they're just putting themselves out there and they're a little shameful of it.
Yeah.
And they're diffusing the fact that they're shameful of their website.
You know what's weird is I started doing this stuff just before the web got going. So I did some print work and I've done stuff like that too. I've never had somebody be defensive about their flyer, their postcard, their business card.
It's true, they're
poster,
not. They feel
anything like
they're
that.
proud of that, aren't they?
Yeah, but the websites are somehow more personally tied. And I've never understood why.
That is so true.
I think part of it might be because originally people were doing it themselves.
Not that I care. Again, I totally don't go home and think about this and tell my wife, hey, we had the worst website today. It was crazy bad. I mean, not once have I ever gone and done that. Yeah. But a guy sent in a print material to help us with his website recently.
Yeah.
It was horrible looking, but he was proud of it.
I don't remember it.
It was just in the last week or two, a couple of weeks. But it was horrible looking, which I could care less because it's like, what do I care to comment on someone's print material? But it was horrible print material, but he was proud of that print material. But you're right. People will be proud of print material and be completely ashamed of their website.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because, I think if I had to answer why I think that happens, I think it's because people know that there's more to a website and they don't understand all of it.
Yeah.
But when it's in print, they can just look at it and say, do this, do that, and then they get down there like, oh, I like the look
That's
of
exactly what I said
it.
I wanted.
It makes me feel comfortable when I look at that print material.
Right.
But the website, they know it should be doing more, and they've been told it should be doing more, but they're not exactly sure what's supposed to be going on.
Right.
So because there's those unknowns in there and they're
still
talking to
fear
someone,
of the unknown in there.
Yeah, and they're talking to a professional.
In 2020.
What's that?
I said in 2020.
In 2020, there's still people that care. 10 years from now, nobody would care, man. There's no shame anymore, is there? The internet took out people's shame. We were talking about that earlier today. Remember with those pictures,
Oh, yeah.
The inability to even be
Not
shamed.
those kind of pictures.
No, it was photos that were placed on a website that weren't there was nothing ethically wrong with them at all or morally wrong, but they weren't as realistic,
Yeah, they were stagey.
They were staged.
Very stagey.
They were staged photos, and I didn't like them.
Yeah.
But the people who had taken them didn't have the ability to see that they were shameful. I don't know how else to put it.
Shameful's kind of a strong word.
They were shameful.
They were kind of awkward, is the
awkwardly
way I put
staged.
it.
People that are a little newer generation don't have the eyeballs to see that stuff.
Yeah.
And maybe rightfully so, Jason. I think that people self-promote themselves in a very non-shameful way, and I look at them and think, you should be ashamed of yourself.
That's just because we're old.
But yeah.
OWB.
OWB.
Could it be OBB, old bearded bastard?
I like that.
OBB.
OBB sounds good, man.
OBB.
OPP. There was an old rap song.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah, OPP.
OPP, yeah, you know me.
Yeah, OPP, yeah. This is horribly embarrassing. I'm actually flushed
Talking
a
about
little bit.
awkward and stagey.
Yeah.
Shameful.
Well, no, I'm ashamed. I am ashamed. I am not staging though. It's actually real, which makes me even more ashamed.
Which is even more shameful.
Which is more Guys, so I hope that answers your questions. It can get better and better and better. I want to say this too to wrap up this stuff. So you've got to have good base stuff. You've got to have good content, good code base. You've got to have good work on GMB. It can't be set up and forgotten. Got to have real addresses. Got to have reviews. Reviews can get so much better with righteous reviews because of photos and captions and check-ins. And you go from a website that would have gotten no reviews and no changes,
right,
stagnant, to hundreds of custom unique changes, content change. This is content on steroids, content that is more relevant, more new age content. Like,
well, it has relevancy and proximity.
Yeah,
because it has geolocation data, so proximity is built into it.
The expertise, authority, and trust and brandability is just fantastic. You can then go in and expand your brand locally just a little bit. Not too much to scare you, just try to get 3 links from somebody locally. We can't do that for you as well. We can do citation links and set you up with other stuff and some local, but we can't get that other stuff.
Yeah. We've mentioned this in other places, but links from local sources, like a link from your local church's website is actually worth a lot more than just a general link.
Yeah.
Because the proximity, the locality of the link gives it a lot more juice.
So we help you get topically relevant, completely up on code base, this better grade. It starts to really be this living brand online. It's moving, it's changing, it's being added to. It's fantastic. When we see people take it a step further, and I said earlier that nobody does, but we do have a few clients that have, and they will expand their reach so clearly online that it's ridiculous.
Right.
I actually had this conversation with JMatt not the other day, but multiple times. We talked about a few clients that we did our job and they did their job, and it was so well done that they were showing up in a vast larger market than they should have been able to, that other people will try to put in city pages and won't show up, or even put 2 or 3 cities on the homepage and won't show up, but this company had them all, and it was due to the overriding increased brand awareness that gets filtered digitally and recognized through Google.
Right.
And you can take this to another level and get it larger, and you can look at this thing in a clear way and understand it and not lose track of it as time goes on. Our brand is huge online. We have some clients who've taken this, and you can literally double down on the amount of leads that you would have gotten online by just getting larger. Videos, drone shots, right?
Right.
Getting videos put up, putting videos on GMB, having pictures of the website, having other interactions in your community, and it can just really be to the point to where you've just dominated the living hell out of that industry, out of that town. I do believe somebody could go into Granbury, Texas, and Hood County and maybe pull 150 or 200 roofs.
Yeah.
That guy's not going to yet, but he may get to the point to where he understands it. Oh, you know.
If you take all the steps we're talking about taking, you can get the leads you want, provided your market can support it.
Right.
And I mean, that's the answer.
I mean, and forget about it if hail hits or hurricane hits or wind damage.
Well, that's it. Provided you've done all this stuff before it hits,
right?
Then you're gonna boom.
There's all kinds of stuff I could go over. By the way, like they don't have to storm chase anymore.
Right.
You might have one other location. If I was a roofer and had a perfect scenario, I'd have my main town I lived in cinched, and then I'd have one more cinched up. I'd go away like an hour or two. Well, I don't want to go 2. I'd go away an hour and a half max, and I'd get my little extra location cinched only after the first one was done.
Right.
And then I'd be a little double down just in case a storm didn't hit for too long, because a roofer can really start to kind of go like I really enjoyed it when I did those 200 or 300 or 400 roofs that year the hail hit.
Or 750.
Or 750 roofs, and now hail hasn't hit in 4 years.
Right.
Or something. So I do feel for a guy in a case like that. I do know from our personal experience that branded to this extra level is ludicrous, right?
Right.
It's crazy right now around here. We have some clients that have done it, and most people don't go to that point. But leads can get better and better And I guess one other thing I was going to say is that they have to have faith and remember what's going on. They can't forget what brought them and what items are interplaying. There's enough little things to go that someone can lose track of it, become disillusioned, get upset at something for no reason,
Well, we like to say that we want our clients to get so busy from our services that they never have to think about our services.
Yeah.
The downside of that is that sometimes they forget that our services are what got them
so busy. But Jason, if somebody were to take the branding to the next level, they understand it. It also,
yeah, that's the thing. If they're constantly taking part in the process, they know.
It makes you feel better too to know that we're knowledgeable and told them.
Yeah.
And they believe us that this be true, that if they had to go pay BBB, and I wouldn't do this too much because you could spend $10,000 a month in ridiculous links to places.
Right.
But if you just had 3 or 4 and you spent $600 to somebody, which is pretty relevant price, and you've had to pay your local chamber or the local BBB, but you had that extra link back and that extra promotion on there, and it helps you.
Right.
It makes you feel a little bit better, and you know where your business is coming from. It's very, very, very difficult for the average roofer or any business person today that's online to track where the heck everything's coming from.
Right.
Now, Google Analytics is on all of our sites, and we can track it, but for someone to internalize it and understand it and know where it's coming from and count it, you were talking about that guy earlier,
yeah,
is very difficult. So you need to learn enough about it and then have faith and some knowledge that you know where it's coming from. And you can go track it. You can. It's just difficult. Some of it you can't, though, because if you're getting a no-click search, it digitally happened, But
well, I mean, the person you said that turns out 90% of their calls are coming from our efforts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really blame them for what happened because they didn't really know that. There's nothing that pops up on your phone saying this call came in from, and so they got off, had the wrong thoughts in their head. They got a false narrative going, but very much to their credit, when I showed them the analytics, they said, no, this is what's happening. They said, oh, and they were suddenly very appreciative.
Yeah, and what ends up happening is like the guy in Hood County, they want 200 sales. The website produced 40, right? 50. Let's say 50 for easy math on it. The website brought in $150,000.
The first year.
Yeah, and he ended up profiting from that. And he had some expenses, and he has $100,000 left over. Let's just say 80. But he wants more money than that. He wants 200. But you grow from that, and then you move forward. And if people took the time to listen to such an hour and 7-minute
God, is that how long we've been talking?
Like this one, and understood it, and then had some faith with their professional partners that they hooked up with, like roofing webmasters, and then knew that they could do some other reasonable stuff on the side, and committed to it, and were reasonable and logical, and I guess what would be the just methodical about it, just deliberate about it,
right.
Reasonable, logical, and deliberate, and worked with us, worked with themselves. They would know and undoubtedly get to be the most dominant ones in their market. This is probably one of my favorite ones I've ever done on this podcast because this is so relevant today.
Right.
And we're so able to help people because of the structure that we have now with righteous reviews and all other stuff. It's on such an elevated level, and if the client can take it, not only use righteous reviews, which is 3-4 minutes a job, I'd say
if that,
that's 2 or 3 or 4. But if they'll take that and add just a little bit more, it would be just a clear win for anybody who did this.
And this is not conjecture. We're seeing this on clients right now. We're seeing clients who are using it just rocket up to top of mapping and local search.
On righteous reviews,
quickly.
Especially when they participate in branding.
Right. And
all of this stuff, which I didn't tell people, or which I should mention more, is kind of a sitting duck type opportunity, low-hanging fruit, because it's new. The signaling for branding and all the interactivity of righteous reviews and proper website and branded signaling and expertise, authority, and trust is a new portion of the algorithm that is heavily weighted and working very well for people, but all of the roofers out there aren't doing this to this level yet.
Right.
And there's probably going to be years before there's enough guys doing it to where there's not, an easy rise for you to the top.
Right.
So I think it's just a massive opportunity to do this. And I know that if you brand over the course of time, it's immersive. By the way, that guy at the Great Lakes that recommended the guy that signed up today is dominant organically on everything he could be.
Nice.
Now, he signed up back then a virtual office, and it had been taken down out of that primary office.
Back when we signed him up, those still work. They don't anymore.
So he, unfortunately, primary address is in a town of 457 people. Yeah, I looked him up.
But he's still showing up for the big town.
Well, he shows up because we went for the big town on the organic.
Right.
And but he's not in the map there. But he has hundreds of city pages that are all showing up for like hundreds of words. He probably has thousands of words that show. Yeah. And guys, you need something this big if you're going to do a commercial one. If I do a residential one, I can do a little bit smaller, but you've got to have the large site to fish all of it. Because even though he's got pages for acrylic and silicone and roof restoration, flat roof coatings and cool roof, and it goes on and on and on. You fish for those to get the leads.
Yeah.
So
you have to fish for a broad range of services and a broad geographic area. Both.
As critical as a client is demanding of our types of services, to have somebody successful and look at it and say, I'm a successful roofer, to get a recommendation from a roofer is a huge feat for us to get it, because you don't realize how, from our perspective, how happy you guys have to be.
Yeah.
Because the
guy,
guy
use these guys.
The guy to Hood County wants 200 for 600 a month.
Yeah.
Now the guy that's doing the commercial residential pays more, but the guy so for him to recommend us means he's probably getting that level of support. He does residential and commercial. I think he mainly wants to do commercial.
That means that whatever expectations or desires he had going into it, he got them.
They've been realized, and they're probably far outweighing it for him to be happy enough to refer somebody.
Yeah. Somebody said, I need someone to do this, and he's like, oh, you got to call my guys. That's
if
awesome.
he had any financial strain at all, there's no way we would have come out of that with a referral.
Right.
So, and he's been with us, by the way, in March, just 2 years. So, and I know he was happy clearly a year ago, because I remember him coming up and being nice to us and saying nice things, which is always good. Yeah. I am talked out, man. That was a good one, though. I enjoyed it.
I don't think we've ever gone over an hour before.
I think that was our best one ever, possibly. It was extremely knowledgeable, if I do so say.
It was highly.
I talked most of the time, therefore it was amazing.
Yeah, I spoke and learned nothing. All right, guys, I'd love to be able to answer questions. We'd so love to hear from you, and we're easygoing. We'll answer questions. You got anything, man, we'd love to be, your SEO company, so or digital marketing agency, depending on what you're looking for.
Take it easy.
Bye-bye.